India and the UK are signing a major free trade agreement covering nearly all bilateral trade between the two countries. The deal that has been 3 years in the making is now being signed during Prime Minister Modi's visit to the UK. The agreement has the potential to reshape trade worth billions and touch nearly 100% of goods exchanged between the two countries. The deal is a game changer for both exporters and consumers. 99% of Indian exports to the UK will see tariffs eliminated or reduced. 90% of UK exports to India will also get preferential access, with 64% seeing immediate duty cuts. The FTA covers nearly 100% of bilateral trade value and is expected to unlock massive opportunities across industries. Negotiations for this deal began back in January 2022 under then UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, but after several delays, the agreement was finally concluded in May 2025 and now it's been signed during PM Modi's visit to the UK. The signing will take place at Chequers, the official countryside residence of British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The deal will then move to British Parliament and Indian Cabinet for final approvals, a process that could take up to a year. So what's exactly in this deal? What does it change and how will this affect you? I'm Shivani Singh, and in this video we're breaking down the India-UK Free Trade Agreement, what it means for your job, your industry and even your shopping list. The Free Trade Agreement is designed to reduce tariffs, improve market access, boost investments and encourage mobility of professionals. Tariffs of 8 to 12% on Indian clothing and home textiles exported to the UK will be removed. Now that's a big win for textile hubs like Tirupur, Surat and Ludhiana, which could see the export growth of up to 40% in the next 3 years. Indian exports of gold and diamond jewellery and leather goods will now enter the UK duty-free. This is a huge boost to MSMEs and luxury exporters. The UK will scrape import duties on Indian-made machinery, tools and auto parts, helping hubs like Pune, Chennai and Gurgaon integrate more deeply into the European supply chains. Visas and professional qualifications will now be easier to obtain and will be recognized across borders. This means more Indian engineers, accountants, architects and healthcare professionals could work in the UK. Approximately 60,000 new jobs may be created in the services sector over the next 5 years. Indian pharma companies will see faster approvals and easier regulatory pathways in the UK, especially for generic drugs targeting the NHS. Import duties are being scraped off on Indian products like basmati rice, tea, spices, shrimp and other marine exports, a win for farmers and fisheries across Assam, Gujarat, Kerala and West Bengal. Low tariffs on agrochemicals, plastics and specialty chemicals are expected to double India's exports to the UK in this segment by 2030. Joint ventures will now be encouraged in solar, hydrogen and EV infrastructure. The UK is expected to invest heavily in India's clean energy push, especially in innovation and co-development. India will also gradually reduce tariffs on Scotch whisky from a steep 150% today to 30% over the next 10 years. This means cheaper Scotch for Indian consumers and a wider UK footprint in India's spirits market. Now, in short, whether it's textile, tech or tea, the free trade agreement touches everything from jobs to exports to what lands on your shelf at a cheaper price. It marks a new chapter in India-UK ties, economic diplomacy with real-world impact. For more insights into the India-UK Free Trade Agreement, we've been joined by market expert Sunil Subramaniam. Thank you so much for speaking with us on Money Control.
Thank you.
Now, as you know, Prime Minister Modi is in UK for signing what is being called a landmark trade agreement. There's growing interest in knowing what this agreement really means, not just for tariffs and big industries, but for Indian professionals, MSMEs and the broader economy. Everyone is talking about tariff cuts, but beyond the usual sectors like textile, auto, pharma, which lesser known sectors, according to you, stand a chance to gain significantly from this FTA?
Actually, IT services, for example, though normally they don't come under the tariff thing, what has happened is that they have now allowed Indian IT professionals to access the UK healthcare system and the benefit system, which was not allowed earlier. So I think this could be a huge boost because it's a cost impact to the IT companies because they had to bear the healthcare costs of these professionals there. And now I think that can be passed on to the government there. So it makes the thing hiring and choice of UK as a location for nearshoring to access the rest of Europe. I think it makes it very, very well. So that's not something that's readily apparent, but clearly from this agreement, India has negotiated that very, very well.
Moving on to visas and professional qualifications that are big talking points. Can you walk us through how this could actually play out and how Indian professionals who are looking to work in the UK could benefit from this?
So, like I said, the one is that they are going to get access. Once you get a visa to work there, you get access to the UK social security system with all of its benefits, which, as I said, is a huge advantage for people there. The second is that if you now go to study in the UK, now the visas become much easier for you to post-study work visa there. So that means even UK has an educational place for Indians to go and study, because then post that it's now going to make it easier for them to get a job and do that. Whereas in the US, it's not so easy. Many people go to study in the US, but they don't get a job there, and hence they have to come back. I think that's where the UK has taken one march over the US in terms of doing this.
That's great news for young professionals. India recently signed trade deals with UAE and Australia. So how this UK deal is different? Is this about opening up Western market for Indian businesses? What do you think? Why is it different?
On the UAE itself, there are two aspects to it. One is there's a huge, large Indian diaspora which is based in the UAE. So what happens is that a lot of Indian products like agri products, atta, all of those are exported. And as you know, gold is a big, big part of the UAE market. So I think the gold trade and the agri trade with UAE will become very, very important and easily accessible with this FTA. The second aspect is that, as you know, Dubai is actually a shipping point for access to Europe. For years, it has been a trading. Dubai doesn't have oil. It's a misconception that Dubai also, because it's part of the UAE, that it has a lot of oil. Dubai has no oil. It's entirely a trading hub. So as a part of the UAE, for us to get access to that means that the entire European, East European, those markets open up, because Dubai has fantastic transport facilities. The port facilities are fantastic. And so shipping them into that and using that as a transshipment will reduce and save transportation costs. And you can then have them in Dubai and then ship them to wherever you need. And so that helps a lot in terms of improving the India trade into the UAE, European zone through Dubai. As far as Australia is concerned, Australia is a big source of raw materials. Coal, for example, is a huge. So India's growing energy needs. We import 85% of our crude oil requirement. So as we now try to we need to tie up alternative sources, because there's a threat that Russian oil could be huge tariffs from the US. So if we then shift to natural fuels like coal, and then we import a lot of coal from Australia, that will help solve India's energy situation in a big way. The third aspect on Australia is that education. Australia is a much cheaper and much more close to down-to-earth education, like catering industry. Those are all very good colleges in Australia, and I think it can be a huge opportunity for India as a part of the educational thing for Indians to go to Australia, and then from there, they can find their way around the world. So I think there are a lot of benefits to come from the Indo-Australia agreement as well as the Indo-UAE agreement.
Moving on, there's a lot of talks on MSME startups benefiting from this agreement. Now, what kind of support or new market access are we actually looking at here?
So I think what happens is that it's part of the value chain. As you know, the labor-oriented industries are in the MSME space, right? Now, larger companies, because of their kind of cost structure and everything, find it hard to access. So I think what happens is, as the free trade, as the trade develops here, small pockets of the value chain can be actually directly taken from India, and MSMEs can export to that. So this removal of the barriers of entry means that even smaller companies can access these larger markets. The only thing is they have to maintain their quality, but they're very critical for India, because as you know, the MSME industry is one of the largest employers. So India has this main thing in terms of all the BTAs and the FTAs that they go to sign, is that we need to find jobs for our labor. Over the next 20 years, we are going to add something like 150 million people to the workforce. So any government in power needs to provide jobs. And all of these BTAs and FTAs, I think, will be focused towards the labor-oriented sectors, as you know, textiles, leather, garments, gems and jewelry, where the MSCs have a part to play, because in hiring small groups of people based on the geographic clusters, right, they can get economies of scale there and then export. So I think all the trade agreements, the one focus of the government is how can a labor-oriented MSME sector benefit from the opening up of these Western markets.
Right. So the deal sounds like a win-win on paper. But my last question to you would be, are there any areas of concern or sectors in the country that might feel the heat from this agreement?
Obviously, because once you are going to ask them to open up their markets, they will need a reciprocal quid pro quo, right? So clearly, from a UK perspective, the wines and the spirits. So maybe Indian liquor companies, which are trying to get the high end of the market, would face some challenges because now you'll get cheaper liquor from there. Similarly, the automobile space, right? Because of the fact that now we have to allow the UK-based automobiles entry here at the higher end, but luckily for us, Jaguar Land Rover is actually an Indian company today. So to that extent, it mitigates the thing. But otherwise, in these things, the high-end automobiles, high-end liquor, these are the spaces where we have to open our doors. See, we can't say that only I will win and you lose, right? You have to give something to get something. So I think India will have to open up the HNI segment of our market to the foreigners so that happens. So as you know, India is a very polarized economy. 10% of the population gets 60% of the income. And the same 10% gets 65% of the wealth. In fact, only 1% of the population controls 40% of India's wealth. So this, whatever you may say, out of a 140 crore population, the 14 crore people, there I think we are going to definitely have to open up our markets to the foreign high-end value providers. And those Indian companies which are targeting the same high-end consumer, right, probably will need to, tighten their things and to make their products competitive, because there's always a fascination to buying foreign goods as compared to Indian goods. So those segments of the market are the ones which are probably, like I said, liquor, high-end automobiles, right? These. The other challenge which we will be tackling strongly, but we might have to give in, is on agriculture. Because a lot of these highly mechanized agriculture, they're looking for external markets. In fact, that's what is one of the main sticking points with the USPTA, because they want to export their corn and soya. And the problem is that they use GM, genetically modified grains, in that. So that's something India is trying to resist and prevent access into that. But in case one or two items we do that, then some elements of the agriculture could face challenges. But that's for the US largely. We'll have to wait and see how that progresses.
Thank you so much, Mr. Subramaniam. That was very insightful. Now we'll continue to track how this FTA unfolds and what it brings for Indian businesses and consumers. Stay tuned to Money Control for latest global updates. I'll see you in the next report.